are back with some Queen's Wednesday on Why in the Morning. My name is Barry Moses, or it's Barry Mo on every social media platform. I know you're wondering why I'm branded different, but this is something special for anybody out there who experienced bullying or is going through bullying right now. So bullying is a reality of the world right now, and that's why I brought Catherine, aka Kaye, who is the country manager for Face Up, to shed some light in this. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Barry.
All right, your camera is number 4.
Okay.
I like to give everyone an opportunity to say all their AKAs and all their achievements and all their titles before we can start.
Yeah, okay. My name is, official name is Catherine McElwain, but popularly known as Kaye Alianda. But I also have several names. Actually, I've got like 7 names.
AKAs.
AKAs, yeah.
Right.
But I like Kaye Alianda. So basically, my journey to here, to in the studio today, has been a long one. I've been around a couple of times. I've been around the block many times. I started my career as a high school teacher. I used to teach French and English second language. And then I've done events presentation, I've done events organization. And then I went back to school, believe it or not, at a ripe old age.
Yes.
And I did a 3rd degree, and that degree I studied psychology. So at the moment I'm practicing psychology, and then I'm pursuing a master's as well in community psychology, which is a way of working with mental health, but at a grassroots community level rather than with individuals. And then one of the things that I do, it's not just promoting bullying, but not bullying, but promoting anti-bullying campaigns, but rather it's to work with mental health from a holistic perspective. And this is just one of the things that I do, Face Up. So Face Up is one of the products that I am using to work towards improving our communities. And as Barry said earlier, that I'm the country manager for Kenya. It's a product that's developed by students, for students who actually experience bullying themselves. And the founders of this organization are actually teenagers. They're still teenagers. And right now...
The founders of the organization?
Yes, they're still teenagers, because it started as a high school project, and then they turned it into a social innovation, and at the same time, a business opportunity. So currently in Africa, we have presence in South Africa, Nigeria and Kenya.
So far? Yes,
so far, and we are seeking to grow, and in Eswatini as well, former Swaziland. And then we also...
Swaziland is...
It's now Eswatini.
Eswatini.
Yes.
All right, I'm up to date now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and then India, South America, North America, and it originated from Europe in Republic of Czech.
All right, so you see the reason I have that particular segment where you just look at the viewers and talk to them, because I wouldn't have captured all that. So you have a lot that you have done, and you have a lot that you want to do as well. Enough about your profile. When did you start working with Face Up? Face
Up, for me, the journey started last year, actually, when I attended a meeting, and somebody else was presenting on it, and I got interested. So I went to their website, and I see that they're looking for partners, so they're looking to expand in different countries of Africa. So I got in touch with them, and they were very quick. I guess being young guys, they all work through technology, so immediately they came back, and then we started working on a strategy on how we can partner. So as the country manager, I've been involved from round about October of last year, and right now we are looking to put our footprint in schools and institutions in Kenya. So we are looking to interest schools to sign up for the app, and they can start using the product.
All right. Yeah. So you've incorporated technology in this cause that you have.
Yeah.
All right, that is very wonderful, because we are living in that age as we speak. But something got my attention when you were introducing yourself. You're working with mental
health.
Mental health wholesomely.
Yes.
All right. So,
holistically.
Holistically.
Yes.
So is mental illness a prerequisite for bullying?
not a prerequisite in the sense that you don't need to be mentally ill to bully people, but bullying can lead to a lot of mental issues because, especially with the victims, they end up suffering low self-esteem, productivity is reduced. You find that they carry some of the scars. They're damaged for life, some it's irreversible. So it is something that can then lead to mental disease. And then also with the perpetrators, often you find that they themselves have some sort of emotional distress that leads them to bully. So it does then fall within the realm of mental health.
All right.
Yeah.
So for
and as we know, it's very prevalent within our schools. In fact, Kenya is actually one of the most highest in terms of internationally compared to other countries. We have the highest bullying rate. Yeah.
Wow. We'll get into the
Some
stats.
of those details,
We'll get into the stats later. But Kenya, what does that tell about a society?
Basically, what it says, when you see a society that where bullying is so prevalent, probably it's just a culture that is there and it's not going away. It's also a matter of people not accepting that it happens, because I can almost guarantee you that if I went into any national school or private school and asked, do you have bullying, they will deny it.
Yes.
So
nobody wants to be a snitch.
Yeah, and nobody wants to look like they have bullying, so we have to kind of like sugarcoat it and not call it bullying and call it other things.
So that is also a problem.
That is the problem. The stigma of your institution being labeled is that it's got bullying. And then also I think, I mean, just a quick example, on my way here to the studio, the amount of stress on the roads, we are quite a stressed city. Everyone's stressed to get somewhere. People are aggressive. People are short-fused and short-tempered. So
the rains make it worse.
The rains make it worse, and everyone wants to be there at the same time. So then you find that, yeah, we generally live in this sort of like very stressful society, which then can really bring on things like bullying.
All right.
Yeah.
Another thing I experienced in school, most of the bullies had issues that they were not dealing with, maybe either at home or some personal issues. Do you think judging a bully's parent is the right thing to do?
Okay, like in our profession, we never judge. We work with what we have.
Out.
Yes, you can call it out, but the problem with calling out, then people get defensive. So you just need to work with, say, with the perpetrators, not so much as blaming them or judging them or calling them out, but you want to work with them in a way that helps them understand that it's not their fault that they're bullying, but it's not the way they should be behaving. And I think if you approach it from that sort of way, then it's going to work better than, because most of the times when you have bullies, the perpetrators, they're usually suspended from school, or they're punished, or they're taken somewhere where they can be taught adabu kidogo.
So this is not the way to do it.
No, not from my opinion, no.
All right, as a psychologist, what do you think is the right approach?
One of the best approaches, I believe, in handling mental health issues within society is preventative, not curative. Because you don't wait for the fire to start and then start, running for buckets of water to put it off. But if we as a society, first of all, acknowledge that we have this kind of problem, and within our schools, within our communities, we create an awareness that bullying and violence is not the way to solve issues. Let's say at the workplace, how do we help people manage conflict? How do we help people manage disagreements. Okay, I disagreed with you, but that doesn't mean I should punch you. You know, I need to respect your point of view. I need to understand where you're coming from. So psychoeducation from a preventative point of view is one of the key things. Let's put out the fires before they start happening. And then also within the schools, if we can have peer learning trainings where we mentor youngsters to work as counselors between themselves, so that if somebody has a problem, somebody is experiencing bullying or any other depression, stress-related, emotional-related issues, they have people they can go to as, say, first responders before they can get to professionals.
All right.
Yeah.
People assume that bullying can only happen, let's say in a school setting, from a student to student, but they forget that people in authority can also bully the people who are not in authority. All right. So how do you go about this as a normal student in school?
You mean bullying in the workspace or within the school? Because within the workspace, like you said, it's power differential.
Yes.
And often people abuse power. I mean, just because I wear a uniform or because I have a title or because I have more education, I can bully you because I have more power, so to speak. So within the workspace, it's really about having the right policies that guide that organization how to treat each other, and obviously people being able and feeling free enough to report these incidences, because a lot of the time people are scared that if they report, they might lose their job, they might get re-victimized. There's always a backlash. Yeah.
And for the gentlemen, they might look weak.
They might, especially for the gentlemen. And if your boss is a lady, oh, you're going to suffer quietly. Yeah. That's the truth of the matter, because yeah, like you say, men, it's even, they're double disadvantaged because you're supposed to be this strong guy, or society also works sometimes. We see the women as the victims and not the men. So nobody really believes.
Which is not always the case.
It's not always the case. Either gender can be subject to bullying. Yeah.
All right. So as a gentleman, going to school, when we were finishing primary school, heading to high school, so parents are obsessed with hardening their kids. Let's take them to boarding school so they can be tough. Let's take them to this and this school so they can be tough. So people assume a little bullying will toughen up the child. Do you believe this is true?
Will man you up.
Yes.
The thing is, what is a little? My little is not your little. Where's the line? Because we've heard of horror stories where monos, I think they're called, in boarding school. They're made to sleep on graves. They are pushed into swimming pools. Some are beaten up. So what is enough? So I rather would just not go with this toughening up thing, because you never know where it leads to. And you never know what that bully, maybe that guy was experienced such trauma himself, and now he's revenging and tripling the revenge. So
passing the trauma.
Yes, and also now thinking, okay, I went through this, now I was hit 5 times, I'm gonna hit you 10 times, and where does it stop?
Where does it stop? But the reality of life is that it's a doggy world, and school is to prepare you for the real world. And in the real world, it's not a fairy tale out there. So maybe, to some sense, it prepares you for the bullying in the real world.
And that's what I said, like when you asked about how do you then explain it in a society as ours, then we are creating that culture. And if that's the culture you want to keep pushing, then this is the direction you will go. But surely, just as there is bullying and there's violence, there's also calmness and peace. So what message do you want to preach?
And what kind of society
do you want to live in?
Do you want to live in? Do you want to bring
your... live in, what did you call it? Doggy world.
Doggy
world. If you want that kind of world, then sure, toughen up your people. But if you want a harmonious, mutually respectful community, then you're going to look for another way to man up people and to toughen up people, not to get them punched and beaten up. I think there was a case probably last year where a high school learner was beaten up to the point that I think he lost his mental capacity because he was hit repeatedly on the head. So yeah, and then now you've got a vegetable of a son at home, then what?
Yes. And leading to campus, they get into more trouble. More
trouble. Then not the workspace, more trouble. Then you're creating a whole society of troubled, violent people because that's the way they know it. Wow. So I think that's the question you need to ask yourself.
As a person,
as an individual.
Not you, as an individual. You heard the question you need to ask yourself: what type of society would you like to live in, and bring your kids up in? So this is Strength of a Woman. Our social media handles are always right there below the screen. Chat with us, interact with us. We'll appreciate that for sure. As genius as the name is, Face Up.
Face Up.
And you guys have an app as well.
Yes, we have an app.
How does this app work? And can we get it on Google Play and
Absolutely.
the App Store?
Yes, you can get it on the App Store. You download it. But the way it works, it's not like if you, Barry, has the app, it works. You have to be within an institution. So like, let's say State House, which is the closest school to here, I'll use that as an example. So let's say they sign up for this app, the institution signs up, because then what happens is there is a dedicated team of people who will handle mental health issues and especially bullying. So it's not like you can just take the app and then report, because where will you be reporting unless now your organization
needs to be institutionalized.
Exactly, so that the situation is addressed. Because the point is, you might report bullying, but if nothing is done about it, then there was no reason to do it. Yeah. So like I said, originally it was an app that was developed by high school students, started off as a project, and then they turned it into a reality. So it started within schools, and they're looking to expand into institutions like universities and even workplaces. So how it works is that a school signs up, and then a team of people is agreed upon, like who will handle the matters when they're reported. And then these people can either be in schools which are fortunate enough to have a psychologist or counselors, or can be some dedicated teacher or the principal. They get the report.
So all these things you're saying are a privilege in this country as we speak. Schools don't have psychologists.
Yes.
Schools don't have the guides that you were talking about.
Yes.
These are things that are
challenges. I see them as challenges, and I think that it's a good place to start realizing that these are some of the things that we need within our schools. Okay, so the school doesn't have a psychologist or a counselor, fair enough. So we as the team can then work with some of the teachers who are designated for this particular reason. We work with them, and if they need help on, say, a child reports that so-and-so is being called names, or is being body shamed, or is being abused, or so-and-so reports someone is overeating, whatever reason. Then
guilty as charged.
Yeah, are you guilty of that? So then those are some of the things. If they feel it's not within their capacity, they can then refer to us, because remember that is my area. And actually one of the things that I really want to achieve in my lifetime is to make...
That was supposed to be the last question, but thank you for bringing it up.
Should I pack it?
No, just give it to us.
Can I unpack?
Hot.
All right. So one of the things I'd really like to do is make an impact in the mental health sphere, because I realize that there's very little that's being done. And honestly, if you have a sibling, a friend, a parent, a child who needs mental health care, it's a big problem. Because first of all, when you think of our mental institutions, I'm not sure how many we have, but I can think of only 2 major ones in the country. If you look at the rate of mental illness, it's it's massive.
It's massive.
So the question is, where do these people go?
Yes.
And if you look at the
nobody
private
even wants to associate with mental institutions.
it's like, aye, that's a Mwendazim. People don't appreciate that it's something that can be taken care of. And the fact that you've lost your senses doesn't mean that you're useless and you can't be helped and you should be discarded. But the question is, where do they go? Where do people like these go?
All right.
Yeah, so I would really like to start to make a footprint. That is something I feel needs a lot of attention, and I want to really embark on that, if you like.
Because you're nothing without your mental.
Exactly. You can be physically fit, you're walking, good-looking guy like you.
Oh, thank you.
But without your senses,
all right,
nothing. Or if you're stressed, nothing.
Wonderful thing right there, wonderful impact that you want to leave. But the big question is, it's nice that you're incorporating technology, but how are you dealing with the fact that mobile phones are illegal in public schools like the one I went to?
That's the thing, because when an innovation starts, say, from a Western perspective, it starts with from the default point that these things are available. Then you come to developing countries and you realize, oops, doesn't work. So again, it's a challenge for the developers. Now they need to sit back and say, okay, this is what's happening in Africa. People don't have access to Wi-Fi just like that. They don't have smartphones. They're not allowed phones. So how do they repackage? So currently, we will have to maybe work with institutions which have these facilities as we look to how to redesign. Because remember, this is an innovation. Innovations evolve. They have to serve the needs. Otherwise, they're irrelevant in that society.
I like that you mentioned innovation and evolution, because bullying has also evolved with innovation, technological innovation, and we're gone are the days when we just see the physical bullying or the verbal bullying face to face, and now people are taking it online. People are body shaming, and women are the biggest victims of this cyberbullying. I'm not saying men do not go through it, but women biggest sufferers from this. So is it also something you're trying to work on as FaceUp?
Yeah, because you're right. Bullying has evolved. It's gone to another new level. Whereas before, say you were in school, you got bullied in the playground at break time, and that was over, and you could go home and you had some peace. But now you go home, you look at your phone, it continues, the abuse continues, so it doesn't leave you. So it's with us constantly. In terms of FaceUp, what I can say is that because you have the option to report anonymously, there is some sort of, we say that we give the bystanders a voice, because often with bullying, there's always bystanders, but people are scared to do anything because the bully will target you next. There's always a backlash. But now, because you can report anonymously, people have been given a voice to speak out. I think, was it saying speak up? They're being given, you can report anonymously, so you don't have to be scared that you can't speak about it. So I think that is one of the advantages that we have with the app in that sense.
All right. And anonymity.
Yes.
Anonymity.
It's very important because even at work, for instance, your colleague may notice that your boss is bullying you, but they're too scared because they know if they say anything,
they become
next.
the target.
Yeah. So anonymity and people not wanting to be seen as antagonizing the bully is very important.
Wonderful. Schools just opened, and a lot of head teachers and principals watch us, by the way. I'm pretty sure they're watching in the offices right now, in the staff rooms. How can they get to work with FaceUp if they're interested?
Okay, so we do have...
Just look them straight into the eyes right there.
I was looking at your eyes. We do have a website, and I can just give it to you. So there is the general website page, which is FaceUp.org. And then with the Kenyan website, it's www.faceup.ke. And then you can get our phone numbers, you can get our email there, and you can ask for more information.
All right.
Yeah.
So from the website, they can get the social media handles as well?
Yes.
And yes, just to paint a picture, just for people to understand the kind of country they are living in, what are some of the stats pertaining to bullying in this country right now?
Okay, I'll just pull that up for you very quickly.
As you pull that up, remember we're on social media at Y254 channel on Twitter, Y254_channel on Instagram, and Y254 on Facebook. Hashtag is Y in the morning, hashtag is Queens Wednesday, and the topic of conversation is bullying. And the hashtag is report bullying, courtesy of Face App.
Teteana face no. Okay, so I was looking at some of the latest research, and there's research done by Professor Ndete from University of Nairobi. He conducted research, I think it was about 3 years ago, on 17 schools in Nairobi. He had a sample size of 1,012 students, and out of these he found that the rate of bullying ranges between 63 and 82%.
63 and 82%.
And 82%. Whereas if you compare, say, to Australia, it's it lies between 15 and 20%, and the USA.
So we are nicer in Australia. We should move to
I
Australia.
think so. Well, but if you said we need to man each other up, it's burning at the moment, so it might not be the coolest place to be. So then, in the US, the stats lie between 15 and 30, and in fact, Kenya compares to one of the provinces in South Africa, the Free State, whereby they experience 84% bullying rate.
84% bullying.
Yeah, so we are sort of like competing.
All right, I'm a numbers guy. All right.
Yes.
For bullying to happen, you need a perpetrator and you need a victim.
Yeah, and you need bystanders.
And you need bystanders.
Yes.
So 84%, that means bullies are more than the victims.
It's the incident, which means that say the 1,012 students that were interviewed, the sample that was researched upon, they 84% reported to have experienced bullying.
Wow.
Yeah, not that the bullies are.
Okay, I get your point now. I get your point.
Yeah.
All right, so you might have one bully bullying many people.
Yes. So like say in this room there's 20 of us, and you do your research, and you find 18 have been bullied.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is the kind of country you live in. That is the kind of country you're raising your child in. That is the kind of schools we have in this country. So to make a better Kenya, let's work with FaceUp closely, and you can find them at www.faceup, that is up with a U, yeah?
Yes.
faceup.co.ke.
.com.
All right, .com is the global one, but the Kenyan one?
Is KE.
The Kenyan one is KE.
Yes.
All right, be sure to get help from there. And without much further ado, thank you very much for coming through.
Can I just ask you a question before we part? Were you ever bullied? Or were you a bully?
I was bullied.
Okay.
But I also bullied a little bit. Before I was bullied.
Thank you very much.
So, am I going to your stats? Are you going to feed me into your statistics?
I could maybe do research about on people within this broadcast station who have been bullied.
Yes.
Yes.
But I regret my actions. I hope I'm forgiven. Thank you very much for watching Strength of a Woman on Y in the Morning. Kalami Val is coming up next with another hot topic. You don't want to miss it.
Thank you.
What's wrong?